Hi everyone, it's Justine here from House of Mahalo. Thanks so much for joining me. So I'm working on, it's a small project, but it is a journal, and I thought I would take you through, part of what I'm doing. So basically how gorgeous is that? All of these are beads and sequins and everything hand stitched on, not by myself. This was actually a photo album that I found in a charity shop, and the inside, this is where the the plastic pouch things were glued in, and it was starting to come away because I actually used to use this for my scraps of scrapbooking paper, and it got quite heavy, and so the things started peeling away, and eventually I thought, right, well, that doesn't work for an organisation system, and so I thought, well, I'm going to turn it into a journal then. So I pulled out the plastic innards, and then all I'm left with is the inside is absolutely fine, apart from, can you see where the glue used to be? And of course the outside is this gorgeous beads on this gold fabric. So rightly so, it should become a journal, huh? So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the binding, because this binding is similar, if not exactly the same, to my Woodland journal, my Fairy Woodland journal that I did last year. And I know at the time of making that one, I had a couple of comments around how you were looking forward to seeing how I was going to bind it with the elastics. So I thought I would show you with this one, because I ended up doing the other one off screen because it was a new process. But now I think I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to bind this one today. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to obviously cover over the glue seepage. So what I've got is I've just got a piece of paper, one of the offcuts from cutting down the signature, or the signatures, and I've just covered it with some tea dyed lace. So this is just white lace that I've tea dyed, and it came out quite grungy, like that, very like coffee-like look, but it was just tea. And I've just covered the paper with that, and then I folded over the edges to make it neater, and then I just stitched through. So basically all I've got is just this little like flappy panel thing, because I don't want the spine to be any thicker, because this is very thick. So I don't want it to be thicker, so that's why I used paper, so I don't need to reinforce it. I just wanted to cover over the glue, and I thought of many things I could have done. And then in the end, I thought this would be decorative. Yeah, decorative. I guess that's what it's for. It's just for decoration, rather than glue in between my signatures. So I'm using Beacon. It's like Fabri-Tac. I'm getting heaps on because where I've got the paper underneath, I'm not worried about it seeping through the lace, because it won't. And then I just need to line this up. Now, obviously I'm covering over glue, so I want to make sure that I've got this in exactly the place I want it to be. And I need to make sure that it's not going to impede how the book opens or closes. So I'm really pressing that down in there. And in fact, I'm even going to go so far as to get my bone folder to really press it into those grooves. Just need to make sure it doesn't move on me. So I just want to just fold that up and just have a little look. So I just want to press it down a bit more. I'm just running the bone folder through those creases. I know it's probably difficult to see. But if you've got any pretty photo albums and you want to turn them into journals, this might help. And likewise, if you want to do an elastic binding the way that I did my Woodland journal, then this might help too. It's really easy. It's a bit fiddly, but it is easy, providing I remember how to do it. Okay, right. I think I'm happy with that. Just making sure that it's really pressed down well. Okay, so I think that's adhered down really nicely. And then I want to do this next part before the eyelets. So obviously I don't want to cover it over any of the beads, but what I do want to do is just give the spine a nice decorative edge with this some more tea-dyed lace. So I was thinking if I run it there, then I'm not covering any of the beads. But I am giving the spine a nice look. So I'm going to do that. Just thought I would show you, yeah, every step of the process for those who want to see. Now, I am obviously using the fabric glue. Because I'm going through lace this time, I'm just going to smudge that down because I don't want it to shine too much. And I'm going to go in stages. And then if I need to put more glue on, then I can, but at least I'm not putting on too much. I just thought I would want, well, basically this lace was really pretty. Colours wise, perfect for this project. And I just felt like I wanted something down the spine just to give it a nice look. Not for any other reason than just decoration. Okay. Just trying to be so delicate with that glue, because obviously if you use too much of it, it goes shiny through the material, through the lace, which I don't like seeing. So I'm just trying to be ever so careful with putting enough on that it adheres down, but not so much that it shows through. Okay. Feel free to speed me up. Appreciate this is probably a little bit tedious, but I think I like showing you steps of my process, because I do find, you know, when people are working, that's when you can really sort of see interesting ideas that maybe you haven't thought of, or you can pick up little tips, the way somebody's doing something, which, you know, maybe people wouldn't think to tell you, but you just kind of watch and then you're like, oh, that's a good way of doing it, isn't it? Okay, so the next step of the process is to get your eyelets in. I've done mine off screen only because my crocodile is a little bit temperamental and it would take, you know, a long time to do it on video. Now, try and get your holes to line up, your eyelets to line up. If you don't, like in this case, they're definitely not lined up. It really doesn't matter, just as long as it looks fine and you're happy with it, that's all that matters. Okay, so we've got our eyelets in. And one thing about the eyelets is make sure that, you know, there's a nice space apart between them for your signatures. But, you know, don't worry about that too much. The biggest thing is make sure that there's enough space above the eyelets or below the eyelets from the edge of the book, so that you're not going too close to the edge and, you know, weakening this part. So I've probably got about 2 millimeters before the eyelet happens, and I think that's probably about right. You could go a little bit further in, but yeah, enough room that you're not gonna weaken anything. Okay, so we've got some elastic here. Now, for the way that I'm gonna do it is you want, this is a 2 signature journal, or it's going to be, so I want 4 lengths of the book. If you were doing 3 signatures, you would do 6 lengths. So 2 lengths of elastic per signature. Okay, so I thought I was going to show you the same binding as what I did on the Woodland journal. I used these beads. These came from a coat. For some reason, I don't know if I just lucked out with a hole last time being bigger. It just will not go through, the elastics will just not go through today. So instead, I thought, and actually I prefer this idea, is I thought I would try and use this shank button. It's got very pretty, and also it's got a nice big hole. So I think this is going to work better, and it's going to be more accessible for anyone who wants to give this a go, where probably quite a few of us have shank buttons. And shank is they're not flat back, you know, that they have this sticky outy bit. That's what a shank button is. Okay, so you're going to start from the outside in, and you're going to go through one of your holes. Whichever hole you decide to go through, just got bits all over my desk, you want to go through the corresponding hole that is in line with it. So if I put this through, you'll be able to see a straight line inside. And we're going to put this, whichever part of the elastic you're working with, we're going to put that through our shank button. Or really a normal button would probably work. You just need to make sure the holes are big enough. And we're going to cross over and go through this other hole. So if I show you, we've got this crossing over from here to here. Hopefully you can see that. Right, keep this, don't let that go anywhere. Once again, we're going to come down to give ourselves a straight line inside. So that's where your 2 signatures are going to be. Okay. And we want to pull this one through our shank button. Now the hole is big enough to get this one through, so that's that. So again, we've got the same like crossed over effect along the spine. And then we want to get this other button in the other part of the thread in there, just to keep things nice and neat. So this is the one, so we've got one strand through and the bottom strand, and this is the top leftover piece. We want to get that in. So this time we're going to come, just going to turn it, we're going to come through the top part of the shank. Like that. So you should have all 3 bits of your elastics on your shank. So if I just hold this right, that's kind of what I'm going for. Do you see that? And that's going to look really, really cool. What I want to just check for is, before I tie my knots, I want to make sure that it's looking good, you know. I want to make sure things are not like crossed over funny. Obviously I want the cross, but I want a neat cross. And I also am going to decide where I want the shank button. So I think I'm going to go for middle. I think that would look really cool. So what do we think? Yeah. And I love how the eyelets are brass and the button is brass as well. Okay, so we just want to pull the 2 loose bits, which we're going to tie our knots with. We want to pull them tight enough that you can feel your elastics tightening, because obviously we want a nice tight elastic for our signatures. And we're going to tie a knot at the back of the shank. And before I do a double knot, I just want to check that things are nice and tight and that the button is in the middle. So I think that'll be right. And then I'm going to do a double knot the other way around and pull that nice and tight without snapping my elastics. I'm just giving it a good tug so we're nice and snug. And then the great thing is that you can still position your button. So if I decided I suddenly wanted it at the top, all I would need to do is just pull all of the elastics and then suddenly the button is at the top. But I want it in the middle, middle-ish. So I think I want it here. Okay, and then I'm just going to check these feel nice and tight. So now I'm just going to cut, not all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to leave a tiny tail so that I don't, you know, just in case the knot comes undone or something like that. I don't think it will. It feels nice and tight, but you never know. So yeah, different from my Woodland journal, but I think that works as an idea. Obviously it doesn't lay completely flat along the spine because of the shank, but that's okay. trying to decide where to have those little bits of thread, but I don't want to twist things funny. But yeah, I mean, that's my idea. And I'm sure it's been done before. I've not seen it, but I'm sure somebody has thought of this. So yeah, I hope that was interesting. Obviously, I'm sorry I couldn't show you the bead idea like in my Woodland journal, but for some reason today it just was not happening. And in the end, I thought I would try this instead. Don't know, I might put that. Don't know if that's going to twist things funny. Yeah, it twists things funny. I'm just being a perfectionist, aren't I? Okay, and then of course we've got our two signatures in there, elastics in there for the signatures. So I've got these. Now the way that I do my elastic binding is I actually do a 3-hole panfoot stitch into the signature, so you know nothing's coming out. The only reason I do that is because what I found is if you get a page in the wrong place and you close up the book, it can actually like add bends and creases and things to your papers. And I've done it myself, you know, with journals that are bound that way that I've made, and I just don't want that to happen to somebody if somebody's going to buy it from me. So that's why I stitch them. You know, but it's still a journal that you can reuse, you know, the cover. So if you decide that you're done with this, you can still replace the pages. It's just you can't move things around in the actual signature. And the reason that I do this crossing thing on the, not only because of the decoration, I mean, how cool does that look? Very different and unique. But the biggest reason is also what I don't like to have happen is if I did these as separate elastics, so I cut 2 lengths of elastic, I would have to tie a knot in the middle of my signature. And because of how thick this is, I think this is a 2mm elastic, it's going to cause bulk in the middle of the signature. And so this way, they're both flat, it's just one continuous piece, and instead the bulk is on the outside. And yes, that might get in the way a little bit, but it looks cool, so there's that too. So yeah, just a few things that you know come to my mind. But everyone is different, everyone does things differently, so you know, you do you. But now we're going to put our signatures in. And this one. And you'll notice my signatures are, where they sit beneath the top eyelets and above the bottom eyelets. And the reason for that is if you have your signatures being too big, and you'll have the elastics cut into your signatures and you could tear edges of pages and things. So what I did is I lined up my signature with essentially this inner material, so this inner piece, and then I knew I could have the eyelets top and bottom and have the signatures sit in there nice. So yeah, just something else. And that's going to be just sitting in there. I'm not going to, this isn't for elastics, this is just like a pull out folio thing. Whoop. Yeah, I think I like it. Obviously I sat down to do bead binding with my bead, and instead I've come up with a shank button binding, but the premise is the same. If you've just, whatever you've got that's got a big enough hole where you can get all those bits of elastic through, will work. And obviously now I'm just going to sit here and just fiddle around until I'm happy. But I hope that was interesting. I hope it's given you some ideas of things that you could try. I hope you like it. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know if the shank will get in the way a little bit, but I could even just move it up. I don't know. I like it in the middle, but whatever. It's an idea. I hope that it was interesting in some ways. But yeah, different from my original idea, which was the beads. But that's okay. You know, we live and we learn. If you've got different beads and you've got beads that will, you know, sit, you know, have a big enough hole to get all of those elastics through, then you could do it the way that I did it with the Woodland journal. For some reason, I must have clearly just like lucked out with the particular bead I picked up that time. I do not know, but you know, it is what it is. But I quite like the bead, the button idea. I might put, actually, sorry, I'm just fussing with my closure. So this is some brown seam binding. As you can see, I've got way too much, but I haven't embellished the journal or added any ephemera yet, so I'm not cutting it until I'm happy, but until I'm finished. But I was thinking, if I thread this underneath those elastics, then that's not going to get in the way, is it? There we go, and then the button can sit on top of the closure. So again, this is way too long, but I'm fussing, I'm fapping, my usual. I tell you, nothing ever goes according to plan when you're filming, I swear. I'd do it off camera and I bet you it would have worked, but you know, as soon as you turn that film on, it's just like Murphy's Law tells you otherwise. So I'm thinking, yeah, if that goes underneath there and then the button, you know, sits on top, that's going to look quite nice on your shelf, isn't it? What do you think? Do you like the idea? Is it practical? Is it just decorative? I don't know. But there you go, that is my idea. I'm stopping the video now. And yeah, I hope that was helpful to see. I hope it was interesting. If not, then I hope you just like what I've come up with for my own journal. So yeah, I don't know how many videos I'm going to do on this beauty. I've got most of the ephemera and embellishments already made, so maybe we'll do a video or two on filling it and putting things in. But yeah, I don't think it's going to take a huge amount of work. I mean, the cover is done. We've got our signatures bound in. So yeah, it's just a case of putting in some pockets and pretty embellishments, which I've already got made. So yeah, I might do a video or two, we'll see. I just thought I would get on and, well, yeah, sit down and do this morning. So yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for joining me and we'll speak soon. Bye bye for now.